Dopamine swipe, dopamine swipe. Followers, likes, double tap. Now they control your life.
What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the 817 podcast, where we talk everything news, culture, politics, business in the lovely city of Fort Worth, Texas, and county, Tarrant County. If you're new, welcome to the pod. If you've been here, keep being awesome. Jimmy, what's up, man?
Not much. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Robert Stearns last week. If you have not had the chance to listen to that yet, and you are interested in economic development in any way in Fort Worth, that is the pod to check out.
100%. I had people tell me they sent it to like 5 people. Shout out to that person. Like, I've had people say that was a really good pod. And, you know, I think real people listen. So I think it's cool. Yeah, well, how do you feel?
Yeah.
Like after having it for a week, you know, sitting on it, I feel like it's one of my top 5 pods.
Yeah.
Like I feel like, damn, we're getting good at this.
Which is maybe more of a kudos to Robert. Yeah. Well, it was kind of a quiet-ish week in Fort Worth, so we don't really have a big story this week. Instead, we're going to be hitting like 5 or 6 small stories, but it was a pretty big week on the national front.
Yeah, no, I now realize, for those of you who know Jimmy, he goes to Disney often. He goes to Disney more than I go to the grocery store. I actually think this is legitimate. But I realize he's actually not going to Disney. Jimmy is undercover FBI and was at Mar-a-Lago every time he goes. I now know what Jimmy does when he goes to Fort Worth. To Florida.
They're going to find my fingerprints on those documents.
Yeah, what is your take there?
What a wild thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the funniest part is just like the story changing every single day.
Yeah.
And it's like, clearly, if you are getting any legal advice, you are not listening to it, or your lawyers are so bad that you need to fire them. What a wild week.
Yeah. Definitely a lot of that even covered when you look at our newspaper. It was the top of the fold locally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Trump stuff. So it was a quiet local time, but at the same time, we did have Beto in town.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I did attend the town hall. We saw a couple guests of the show there as well. So seeing some people, Nicole Collier was there as well. So saw a couple different, Royce West was there. There was a lot of different people. Opal Lee was there.
Yeah.
So it was buzzing.
Tell us about the town hall. What was it like?
It was cool. You know, I wasn't planning on going, and then my wife really wanted to go. And so I ended up showing up. And all in all, it was Beto and his like skills. You know, he is such strong monologue by himself. And what's powerful about him doing these town halls, it's just reps. And as a speaker or auditor, like reps and getting reps is powerful. So you also, I mean, I think we didn't know that the debate was scheduled in our last pod either when we recorded. So you got that, September 30th in Edinburgh, Texas. So, I mean, that is going to be unique. But all these reps, can it turn and reflect in the debate? Because, when he went against Ted Cruz in 2018, I think Cruz just worked him. I'm interested to see that. But yeah, no, I think going to me, like, I try to talk to my centered, moderate people or libertarians or independents and say, hey, legalize marijuana. Right? You for that? Look at that. Beto is too. He talked about redistricting, and he believes that it should be citizen-ran redistricting. He verbally said that in front of 1,800 people at Fort Worth. And so he says Democrats change the laws of redistricting for them. Republicans do it as well. We need to make it citizen-led. If you're an independent, you know, someone who's tired of a 2-party system or whatever, like, that seems something to jump on as well. Those were probably the positives of it, and it was just cool seeing Bud Kennedy on the stadium on the stage and his little fingers tweeting. And I'm like, and 36 seconds. Just saw you posted. You're looking down at your phone. So it was cool to just see everyone in the room.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean,
did the Rotary Club as well.
Yeah, his headline this week was obviously the motherfucker.
Yep.
out in Mineral Wells, which it's always funny to see what response to things like that is like. I find it humorous that one side treats older people like they're too delicate or fragile to hear a word like that.
Yeah.
You know? And then the other side is like, it probably helps them with fundraising. Some like that gets them on a national radar in a national news cycle for at least a couple of days and potentially like increases donations. So
yep.
It's always funny to see how the conversation around stuff like that plays out.
And honestly, like a lot of the reason why I was hesitant to going was like people just getting shot up at places. And I'm like, I don't want to be in a crowd. I just don't want to be in a crowd. So I'm literally having
especially with all of the Mar-a-Lago stuff going down and
now like there's people showing up to
guy ran through a barricade at the Capitol building.
Ohio guy was there. I saw on Twitter, Phoenix. There's people protesting in front of the FBI with AR-15, thing for Trump. So it was just for me. It's like I had my wife in front of me. I looked at where's the doors? Like where's a chair if I need to pick it up and protect like it. Like those are the things that having to run through your mind while you're trying to activate for something. That's truly what I was like. That's a part of why I didn't want to go. But my wife really wanted to go. So I don't know if other people deal with those kind of thoughts. Like when you think about getting into a crowd that's doing something relatively passionate, and then there's a cops on every corner. So they were protecting, protecting the setup. But those are just the things you just don't know who comes through. There wasn't like security walking in. It wasn't like going into a Dallas Mavs game and you took everything out your pockets. So it was, that was kind of a thing for me.
Yeah. Well, moving on from more of the like national and even state level stuff, we're going to jump into something that we actually couldn't ask Robert Stearns about because they hadn't announced it at City Council yet. But Fort Worth has joined a national effort to bring historic commercial areas back to life. The city has selected the historic North Side and Polytechnic neighborhoods for a new 3-year pilot program with Main Street America, a national initiative focused on revitalizing old commercial areas with their history in mind. The Fort Worth Hispanic Chamber of Commerce will lead the North Side program, and Southeast Fort Worth Inc. will with support from Texas Wesleyan, will lead the Poly program. They'll get up to $270,000 in grants over 3 years, training from Main Street America in fundraising and transformation strategies, and access to a national network of more than 1,200 Main Street participants across the country. This is an awesome win for Fort Worth. Like, my wife works in the stockyards. Like we take that North Main road from downtown over the bridge 3 days a week when we're taking her up there. And it's like, this area has so much potential and it's literally nothing.
Yeah.
Like the article says, just boarded up places, run down old warehouses. Yeah. Like that is a part of the city that provides a connection from two of the city's cultural centers, being the stockyards and downtown. And then we're over here in the east side as well. And, we've got black coffee.
Yep.
And that's it. Ben's Triple B didn't make it through the pandemic. Yeah. But we've got another commercial area over here that could really use some love. So I'm excited to see this happen.
Yeah, we're joining 5 other cities in the nation: Chicago, Boston, Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and Orlando, Florida. The goal of the program is to grow and develop small businesses and neighborhoods while maintaining the neighborhood's identity. And that to me is a big part. Like, my fear of all this is like, okay, you get your local, the area is not where it needs to be in order for big corporations to start investing into the area.
Right.
So you get all these small groups to like actually legitimize it. And then it's like off the backs of the works of the Black Coffees, of the Casa Azules, of the Hispanic Chambers. They get it to a place that then now it's pounced by corporate people outside of the city who then take that street and make it their own. You know, it's like, that's my fear of how long can Main Street America make sure that it stays local, you know?
Well, and even just being with these 5 other cities, right? Like you said, Chicago, Boston, Baltimore, DC, and Orlando, like 5 players on the national stage that I'm sure are going to be overlapping with meetings with their people and collaboration. Like, I feel like it's just an opportunity to have other people working on these same things exposed to Fort Worth in a way that they haven't been before. And like you said, keeping it local, like building it on the foundation of the identities and businesses that are already there and lifting those communities up, I think is potentially something that will even distinguish these from what the near South Side has been able to do over the last decade, and like continue holding that identity true to its roots.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And I mean, this kind of goes with our next story here in the sense of, you talk about keeping places viable and local, and a place that feels not very local anymore is West 7th Urban Village area. And now you have Crockett Row on West 7th Street being purchased by a Dallas-based investment firm that plans to improve parking, signs, and accessibility. Younger Partners Investment announced Tuesday that it secured the 282,334 square foot urban village filled with apartments, offices, shops, and restaurants. Crockett Row was developed in 2009 and managed by a Phoenix-based Vestar. This is also, you know, an area that we spent a lot of money, really blew it up, but now it just doesn't seem like things can hold on. We lost a food hall. We lose restaurants there. The bar scene seems like, man, there's 2 or 3 that are strong, and if you get lucky, the others get some stragglers, and it just kind of seemed difficult. I was walking around there recently for something, I forget why, and it did feel a little like not as, man, I remember visiting the area when I was in college and just being like how fancy it felt, or like, man, this is uptown, or this is nice, but like, so I just don't know how that forms, but it's a great example of how do we build up something.
Yeah, well, and I feel like it's really just struggled to have an identity. And even so, like when we were first starting the theater, we went and looked at a space in there, and the property manager like wouldn't even come out to meet us. Like they sent their secretary or whoever, and we asked like, oh, are they not around? They're like, oh no, they're just eating lunch. And it's like, okay, well, like I'm a prospective local business, and like you can't even bother to come stop having lunch for 10 minutes to show us into this property. Like I feel like that's reflective of kind of where it has been. And I mean, I think the biggest problem is it is not super well connected to any residential areas in the city other than the people that are living in those apartments. And because of that, parking has to be an issue that you resolve. And I don't know, I think the garages are fine. They're like, it's easy to get your thing validated, but it is an extra step to where someone who might not want to do that is turned off. So I think that there's just like some identity issues it needs to resolve. I think that if someone could come in and help like expand the dash so that it reaches more residential areas instead of just, you know, the West 7th corridor to downtown. Like it is a good option, but I don't know how many people are using it to get to West 7th. I would guess not a ton.
It's too far away from well, it's not too far, but it's not close enough to just like walk to like from the college or from downtown. It's
right.
Like, so it's like,
well, and even from the like Tom Thumb apartments,
Yeah.
like it feels like too far, and that's only half a mile, maybe. You know, like it still just feels like too big of a distance. And maybe the new bike lane being done and like the new median being put in, like maybe that will help it feel like a more walkable area and change that.
That place is a zoo right now. I mean, I remember I usually, you know, Montgomery Plaza, it always says don't go left when you're like, I always go left. And, and now they got the big old curb there and it's like, all right, well, I guess I can't go left anymore.
Toast.
So, everything. And then I think it's just a lot of competing things around it that's also struggling, like the Foundry area. Tom's Thumb had, you know, that little market over there. I mean, they had an 85 bakery there that we used to go to that no longer there.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of, and then Montgomery Street still has some stuff. And, you know, so it's, do you get out that way? Because now there's just a lot of other things. And it's weird because then you got the museum district, but our locals really like museum goers and like visiting the museum, and then I'm going to go over there.
I'm going to get in my car and go to another place, and
So it's just I don't know how they're going to make it work, but
I mean, with the museum place apartments going in, like we're trying to build density, but I feel like it is a very much so an uphill battle when we have come from where we have, and which is so dependent on single family and cars, and even like affordable apartments were vetoed in that area a couple years ago. Like we're
like how
every time we take a step forward, it's like we're doing something to pull ourselves back.
Yeah, like how dope would it be to live in the Camp Bowie neighborhood area and do a happy hour there, you know, or go to dinner downtown, go out in West 7th and get home in Camp Bowie all in 1 3-hour day. Like you can go eat at 6:30, be home by 10:30, 4 hours, and you did it all in a transit-like thing that allows you to experience. Because all like Camp Bowie has a lot of, I love their local bar scenes and their karaoke nights and all this stuff that they have. So it's just a cool but currently it's disconnected. And
God, imagine a streetcar system. Oh man,
that allows you to just hit all these things in one day.
Yeah,
I mean, in a 4-hour time, and it connects everything. Be sweet. Speaking of something built being far, far away, site of proposed far North Fort Worth soccer complex goes before City Council Tuesday. The Fort Worth City Council could lay the groundwork to allow development at the site long thought to be the future home of proposed soccer complex near Interstate 35 West and Basswood Boulevard. The council will consider a zoning change Tuesday that will allow commercial and residential development while the city considers whether to build a soccer complex, said City Council member Alan Blaylock, who district includes the property. As we know, this was a passion project from Carrie Moon. There was an article about how this would create $16 million in annual income for the city with this 100,000 visitors. They were looking to explore creating a 20-field youth soccer complex. We had Nettles and Crane and Jared Williams go to Spain to check out Barcelona's soccer complex. So, it's still something they're going through. And what are you seeing and thinking while you look at this?
Yeah, so that Star Telegram article is actually a week outdated because the I guess a couple days outdated because the land did get approved for rezoning to mixed use development at the August 9th City Council meeting. And that doesn't mean it's a foregone conclusion that it's going to become the soccer complex. The zoning gives the developers two options: build a stadium surrounded by mixed-use walkable commercial development, or fill the area with dense multifamily and commercial development. So they're going to be putting both projects in front of the council and having conversation with them, the Parks Department, and the residents in the area to talk about what would be the best use of that land, because it would be a departure from the single-family homes that surround the proposed site. Yet, Rusty Fuller, president of the North Fort Worth Alliance, says neighbors are in support of the proposed development. If you put neighborhood commercial in a spot like that, you have the potential for what I'm going to refer to as a walkable neighborhood. I think that adds to the ambiance, and I think we need to lean in that direction more rather than just these vast developments of houses. Which I'm like, way to go, Rusty. Like, bring the suburb neighborhood alliance together in support of mixed use and multifamily development.
And yeah, but my whole battle with it, and yes, usually we read stories that are in the same 7 days cycle of our Monday, but due to having 3 interviews in our last podcast, we went back a couple. So my apologies for reading an August 5th article. But hey, my whole take is this, but does Keller in this area, like, is this the next funding investment that we need to do with all the things we're having? You're getting $100 million soccer stadium while we're giving Polytech and Main Street North $250,000.
Yeah.
This is the difference between when white people go live in neighborhoods and build up their nice houses and get to have political power and be able to put $100 million in a soccer stadium so you can have a walkable area. But people who literally can see the city when they walk out of their front door can't walk anywhere because there's nothing to go to. Mm-hmm. That's my big thing about it. It's like, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be enough pushback to stop anything. You obviously got the benefits of Fort Worth, Visit Fort Worth on board with it and doing studies around how this is good for kids playing soccer. Kids who are active are 15% more likely to attend college, lowers levels of depression. So those are my things that great, cool, but there's way too much work to do in Fort Worth to be spending that kind of money out there.
Yeah, I think that reading that mixed use multifamily development is on the table as well makes me think like that is the direction that this needs to go. Like, for the sake of Keller and like you have said, with how much potential money would be put into this, like, let's create walkable environments and walkable neighborhoods for people, because I think that those do exist in a number of the Dallas suburbs, but like hasn't really trickled over to the Keller Saginaw Alliance area as much yet.
Yeah, you got Fort Worth has invested hundreds of $1,000s into the soccer stadium so far. Each study costs about $100,000 to conduct. The city has conducted 3 studies to analyze sports facilities in Fort Worth, another to determine financial feasibility of the soccer stadium, and another to analyze and design and cost of the stadium. The most recent engineering study could cost the city up to $300,000. 4 council members also took a trip to Barcelona. The city took a travel of Soccer Club Youth Academy, also known as La Masia, at a cost of taxpayers of about $6,000 for flights and transportation. 2 of the council members used funds from Fort Worth Sister Cities International to dovetail Barcelona with an already scheduled trip. We just talked. We're celebrating Main Street and what we're doing for our lower income areas, and you spent more on a study for the soccer field than you did to build up Northside, build up Polytech.
Yeah,
these are like, quit acting cute and that we're making it a Fort Worth for everybody. Quit it. You're not. Yeah, sure. You're putting people on your streams and on your newspaper and you're tweeting and you're saying you're doing it. But if you're going to give Keller $100 million to build soccer fields, and you've already spent $300,000 for soccer studies, we can't get yippee-ki-yay about $250,000 to Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I can't do it. Why should I get excited? So I'm sure I'll hear from somebody about that. All right, let's dive into the next one. Hey, look at people who are getting PIS aid, who do help people. Nonprofits. $35.5 million in federal funding went to Tarrant County nonprofits. What we're looking at here, this was posted August 1st. Again, we're doing some stories a little later because we had a lot of interviews. Tarrant County will use $35.5 million in federal funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to fund 35 projects administered by nonprofits. The Commissioner's Court approved an allocation Tuesday, July 26, to provide funding for 29 nonprofits and city governments within the country. The funding is part of the country's Fiscal Recovery Funds program, aiming to help nonprofit, local governments, and residents recover from the pandemic. We have a quote from Judge Glenn Whitley. We wanted these dollars to help a lot of nonprofits in the expansion of their infrastructure. But while we recommended $35.5 million, we have an anticipation match of about $26 million. And that is what I want to applaud. We're looking at county staff whittled down the final selections from 95 organizations submitting 131 applications, totaling $280 million in requested funds. County staff chose projects based on countywide need assessments conducted in 2021. Who we're looking at getting funds, they have a list here. 29 organizations, $2 million to Six Stones Missions Network. AIDS for Outreach Center got $1 million. There's Black Heart Association got $210,000. Boys and Girls Club, nearly $300,000. We'll put this in the show notes.
I mean, these are some big old grants.
Yeah. City of Grand Prairie was $2 million. And then United Way of Tarrant County, a total of $5.5 million for 4 projects. So really cool, really good use of funds. What is your take there?
Yeah, I mean, these are massive grants. Everything is at least 6 figures, and I think the lowest I can see is $141,000, and every other one is well over $200K. So that's organization changing money to come in and support a lot of nonprofits across the county. So I'm glad that the county is continuing to use Rescue Plan Act funds in a responsible and uplifting way for the community.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It looks like a lot of legacy organizations. Like you're not going to see Community Frontline. You're not going to see these new things. It'd be also interesting to see a map of where these located in the city, in the county, just to see where all the money is being dispersed, what neighborhoods, what areas. Because Grand Prairie is a lot different than Alliance, but you do have an Alliance here. So it'd just be interesting to see that on a map. 2 of the projects will focus on the 76104 zip code that Tarrant County is United Way is doing. One around the lowest life expectancy in Texas, it looks like, and the other one on medical professionals in the community to reduce maternal mortality rates. So,
speaking of money, is it time to talk budget?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
So the Fort Worth 2023 budget has been the subject of recent city council meetings, and if there's one thing Fort Worth is, it is consistent on its budget, and that's that it will focus on police, cleanliness, and growth. So we are focusing on improving public safety, fixing roads and bridges, making it easier for development, all while lowering the city's tax rate by 2 cents. The city will increase funding to hire 100 police officers. Oh, man. We love our cops, we love our cleanliness, and we love our roads. The tax rate will go down from 0.7325 cents to 0.7125 cents per $100 of property value. Although because of the growth in the city, you'll probably still see your tax bill increase. If you got a homestead exemption, then the maximum it can increase in value is 10%, even though median home price in Fort Worth has jumped 25.5% in 2022. I feel like it's beating a dead horse to continue whenever we look at a budget story, and it's like, oh, we're spending more on cops and we're spending more on roads, and if you're not cops or roads, then good luck.
Yeah, and David Cook had an article quote in here around, reducing crime by cleaning our neighborhood. It just to me, it always just feels like when our budget is based on the principle of safety and how do we make sure everyone's safe rather than how do we make everyone stronger. And it's like, if you look at it, if you budget and invest in the lens of how do we become stronger as citizens, rather than how do we be reactive and safety, and everything's based off of safety. So which is why cops always win, which is why roads always win, because it's like you're worried about
keeping a certain type of people feeling safe.
Correct. So, but I think the water. I want to dive into this water story here that they said. So,
real quick before that,
go ahead.
On the conversation about cleanliness, I love this line. Cook says, "The thought is that visible cleanliness should reduce crime." And if we have learned anything over the last few decades, it is that just because your lawn is nicely manicured does not mean that there is not something sketch going on inside of the house.
Yeah.
Like, trying to keep a put together manicured exterior does not mean that you are solving problems. It probably means that you're working harder to hide your problems behind this idea of cleanliness and being put together. And so it's quite the interesting take that now we're so focused on quote unquote cleanliness.
Yeah, you're right. And if you share your opinion, their city council is scheduled to hold 6 special work sessions and 8 public meetings on this until the final vote of September 27th. So if you have opinions about it, try to get there, try to make yourself heard. The thing that I don't think this is going to go up to a vote. I don't know if how this is going to work. This goes to a vote, correct? The water bill increase? This could not go through.
I think it goes to a city council vote.
Yeah, right? So, and it looked like, Crane's on board, which is maybe more on the fiscal conservative type. So it seems like it may go through then. But it's all about the water, which I thought this was interesting. And this to me makes sense. Our water bills can go up. They're talking about monthly fees for residents. Users will go up from 50 cents to $1.50. Fort Worth is considering tripling the environment protection fee. Residents and businesses pay every month on our water bills. It's part of an effort to increase the city's capacity to clean streets and remove litter while also spreading the cost of litter pickup. So for normal people, 50 cents to $1.50. For commercial, $10 to $30. And then for industrial users, $35 to $105 per month. No one wants to see water bill goes up, Gina Bivens says, but if we can deliver the service responsibility in a timely fashion, maybe the rub won't be so challenging. Michael Crane also said, I get calls all the time from neighborhoods of why aren't we getting our streets cleaned? And I have to explain we only have 2 street sweepers for the whole city. And so that means that we can only cover 580 feet. Fort Worth's roughly 8,100 miles of city streets per month. If the city increases the fee, it proposes buying 10 additional street sweepers, which estimates it can cover 6,380 miles every month. That's crazy. We only got 2.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how the whole Metroplex only has 2 things for salting roads for ice.
Yeah.
It is.
But Fort Worth police have a tank,
Yeah.
We can't get more sweepers, but we need the tank. You know what I mean? Which we really can't clean up after that if we used it. You talk about really damaging the city,
And $1. So if you're a resident, $1 a month on your water bill, that seems like a very small investment to potentially have 10 more street sweepers. Seems like a very logical thing for me.
And you're over 10xing your value?
Yeah.
For $1, you over 10x the value of cleanliness in Fort Worth? You're saying you're going to get to 580 feet to 6,380? Sign me up.
Yeah.
If you're pulling that off, that's cool. They're also talking about, I think that was a pod when it was me and Tony talking, but we talked about the litter wheel that that we've seen progress. It's an Upspire program ran by the Presbyterian Night Shelter of Tarrant County. basically looking to use these funds as well to fund stuff like that, so that it can work. The city is proposing expanding that cruise. I think today they have like 3 of them, and they're wanting to go to 10, which it says would allow the cruise to cover a combined 1,380 miles per month instead of 410 miles per month covered currently. So those 2 things seem a lot of action, and it seems reasonable on cost. So,
yeah, I think it's great. Like, wanting to take care of our stuff is not a bad thing at all. Like, wanting to have a clean city is great when we're doing it thinking that just doing that is going to be what reduces crime and like helps strengthen the city. Like, we're building a house on sinking sand, but in a vacuum, like wanting to invest in the cleanliness of the city is great. All right, are you ready to move into wins and losses?
Let's make it happen.
My loss is this charter school that is opening in Stop 6. And Rocket Ship is kind of all over the place, especially in Texas now. But it's a chain of charter schools, and basically they are capitalizing on underfunded ISDs and underfunded areas of ISDs and going in and profiting off of the lack of investment by school districts. And to me, it just does not sit well that we continue to stretch thin Fort Worth ISD to then have former Fort Worth ISD board members starting charter schools to profit off of those areas. Like, it is the textbook, we are going to underinvest in public services so that we can pitch it as broken and then put something in place to profit off of it. And like, I hope that the kids that go here get great educations, but we have over and over again seen charter schools exploiting people, and it just doesn't sit well with me that we're like closing a Montessori school in Como because we aren't investing in it, but in other minority neighborhoods we're just letting charter schools come in and pick up the slack.
Yeah, I have a very complex relationship with charter schools, because I've been in tons of schools, and I've seen great charter schools, and I've seen great public schools. I've seen bad charter schools. I've seen, bad public schools. So it's to me, what I think everyone who gets get hyped about charter schools, and they say, man, charter schools perform better than public schools in low income areas. The argument is they haven't scaled. So if the average public school has 750 kids in it, charter schools probably have an average of 200 to 250 in it. So if you 3x the size of your operation, are you going to perform any different than a public school? So it's to me, it goes back to kind of like, we kind of briefly talked about with Robert Stearns, like this idea of being a legacy institution, legacy cities, and like, how do you rewire these things to be more innovative and fast? Because currently the only other solution is let's build a net new stack like charter schools, or let's move to Alito and build better schools rather than invest in the legacy stack. So yeah, I think it's tough because if kids and families are wanting it, then that should also let Fort Worth ISD and us listen to what that is. And oftentimes what happens is we go to work at these places, so we're not as attached of its survival, right? It's like, it's not your organization. You just go to work there, and like, you work hard, you bust your ass, but at the end of the day, you live in Crowley. Rocket Ship is waxing you. It's all good. You're good. It's work. And I think, how do you build more pride and and like wanting to say, hey, all the services we provide at Fort Worth ISD is unmatched, and we could do stuff.
Yeah.
To go. So my win is, we're doing losses. My loss is something that maybe you people are aware about already, but it's just, we never brought it up on our pod because we had all the interviews, is Parker County and immigration. Like you see, yeah, it's like you have Parker County saying there's a national, a city disaster and we need to fight for immigration. And so by doing so, they're getting, they're trying to tap into this other funding, and that they need to fight against immigration when they are all the way up here in Tarrant County. And at the end of the day, Bud Kennedy did a great article on this. I'll put it in the pod as well. But my loss is just Parker County and immigration. And if you look at the data, like a lot of these small towns in Texas, the only reason why you're surviving is because immigrants are living there. Our population is moving out or getting older and passing away. It's just a loss. Parker County playing up the immigration propaganda. Your win.
My win. This was a Fort Worth Report highlight on Brittany Duke, who started Fort Worth Business Gals, which is an organization for young female entrepreneurs to come together, have community, support each other, connect, share their work. As entrepreneurs, we know how isolating it can be, and so just creating space for people to come together and talk about things that are going on, help connect with other entrepreneurs in the area is, to me, something worth highlighting. So it seems like they have 15 to 20 people that show up at each of their events. They do a great job at highlighting local female entrepreneurs. And I just love seeing people come together in our city to try and prop each other up as local businesses.
What I love about it too is she moved here just from September 2021.
Yeah.
Like, to me, this kicker is Duke was raised in California and studied business at Boise State University in Idaho before moving to Lone Star State with her husband, Michael. I don't know what got him to Fort Worth, but this is what's cool. Like, as Fort Worth continues to grow and new movers and shakers start coming in with some serious ambition and serious wanting to do something, that this is the kind of stuff that can happen, right? That I think is really great. So super cool. I think that's like was exciting to me. It's only she's only been here for less than a year, and it's already collaborating and making people and starting a social network, Fort Worth Business Gals. So that's awesome.
Yeah, which I thought this was impressive too, that 2020 report from Smart Asset showed that Dallas, Fort Worth, Arlington area ranked in the top 10 best cities for women entrepreneurs, which is something that I see, but is cool to see recognized nationally. And I mean, we've had like the cat crawl, that a lot of female-owned coffee shops have put together. Obviously, Melt, Leaves,
Law the Label.
Yeah, Law the Label. Yeah. Like, we do have a really strong female entrepreneurial scene. So I love to see that there's.
And what's oftentimes too, they're also active politically, like they're standing up for things, and not, just thinking about their business. They're thinking about the meaning of being a leader in the city. So kudos to all our great female entrepreneurs. My win goes to barbecue, Texas barbecue. What's happening here is an award-winning series on Hulu is going to be live, and that's making stops in Goldie's and Panther City Barbecue. The show is called Barbecue Quest. And yeah, they're going to be reviewing their food on the show. I don't got Hulu, but if you have Hulu, you can see some of Fort Worth's finest on a TV show called Barbecue Quest.
Yeah, they'll have Visiting Goldies and Panther City Barbecue, both in Texas Monthly's top 10 barbecue joints in the state. So that's a really cool. If you snag the Disney bundle, you get Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, and Hulu, and check them out on there.
Disney Plus's membership rates are just growing, but majority of it's international. But man, they're just, you look at like Netflix stag, HBO Max stag, but like Disney Plus is still growing users.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't launched in a ton of markets.
Yeah. So, well, hey, we had a nice episode for us for not having a big story for everyone. Thank you for listening to the pod. It's been a while since it's just been me and you grooving and doing our thing. But hey, subscribe, comment, share, and we love to connect and do this with all of you at the 817. Be good.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Dopamine swipe, follow us like double tap. Now they control your life.